Thank you very much. Good morning, all. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. I'd like to introduce the panel members today, as well as the Secretary of the Board and the Assessor. Panel members via Zoom this morning are Kent Seelan and Michelle Duncan. Myself, I'll be sitting as chair today. My name is Mike Truglio. From the Assessment Department, we have Svetlana Schnabel. And from the administrative personnel, we have Fran Picotto. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your properties are called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing is concluded, you can leave the meeting. We'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of property are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of evidence provided at the hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to the application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if matters pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1 through 9 on our docket today. Ms. Picotto, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony.
Madam Assessor, please state your full name.
Svetlana Schnabel.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Schnabel, could we hear from you on the first item on the docket, being 340 Pembina Highway, please?
Thank you. File number 24-2986. Roll number 120-219-65000. We did assess 2025 with reference day April 1st, 2023 at 1,594,000. The subject property auto garage, actual built in 1977, situated on land area of 16,001 square feet with plan area 5,500 571 square feet. Gross floor area of improvements 11,142 square feet. We assess leasable area of 5,571 square feet. On page number 2, I provide subject property existing lease. It's existing lease at $57.79 per square foot. That was reported for us for income of 89,571 square feet. Divide by total leasable area, they provided 1,550 square feet. This lease started in 2022. On page number 3, started air photo, a street view of subject property. Subject property occupied by Cal Tire, located on southwest side of the city. On page number 4 through 5, more air photo of subject property. Land site, it's triangles. Located neighborhood zoning community C2. This district intend to accommodate more intensive commercial site that do not have a local or neighborhood orientation. The district is intended to include attractive commercial, institutional, recreational, and service facilities needed to support surrounding neighborhood and broader community. On page number 6, I provide the vehicle service garage rent comparables. They showed that average $23.28, weight average $22.44, and media $22. Let's open page 11 and go through my comparables with air photo street view. My first comparables, everyone with me? Page 11.
Yes,
Thank you. 555 Pembina Highway, located neighborhood 106. It's Earl Grey neighborhood, same like subject property. Building was built in 1952, lease from 2023 for over 4,000 square feet at $24.89. It's a one-story building, similar like subject property. On page 12, 3341 Portridge Avenue, building built in 1980, one-story building, lease from September 2021 for around 3,000 square feet at $20.74. On page 13, another comparables of 721 Bott Street, building built in 1972, lease started in 2020 for 1,400 square feet at $28.29. Comparables on page number 14, it's 226 St. Anne Drive. We have two comparables because the site has two buildings. One building built in 1988, lease from 2022 for around 2,000 square feet at $26.21. Another building built in 1987, lease from 2022, around 4,000 square feet at $19.83. Comparable on page number 15, 107 Vermilion Drive, building built in 1998, lease started in 2022 for 5.4 thousand square feet at $21 per square foot. My last comparables on page 16, on 20 Lakewood Boulevard, building built in 1978, similar like subject property, building years. Lease started in 2022 for around 8,000 square feet at $22 per square foot. So my summary page on number 6. All these comparables put on table, it showed average $23.28. On page number 7, our income approach, we assess 5,571 square feet at $18.79. That give us potential rent of $104,679. We did apply 2% vacancy for all service garage across the city, 3% expenses not recoverable. In shortfall, $6 per square foot for vacant space, give us net operating income of $98,838. For subject property, capitalization rate 6.2% give us estimate value of $1,594,000. On page number 9, we have provide summary of capitalization rate. Assessment capitalization rate are further supported in comparison with real estate market reports from Colliers International Canada, CBRE, National Research, and Cushman and Wakefield. The subject property, it will be a suburban office building. 60% of all properties sold in city of Winnipeg showed capitalization rate between 5.25 to 6.75. We did apply 6.25. It's inside 60% of the property, suburban offices. Collier showed 6% to 7%, CBRE showed 6% to 8%, and Cushman and Wakefield 6.25 to 7.75. So our capitalization rate very well supported by Collier, CBRE, and Cushman Wakefield. On page 17, I provide income expenses mailer provided to us. It's following by 2025 property assessment and bill. So based off my evidence analysis, the April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property is $1,594,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions, Mr. Navarro?
Just 2 quick questions. Ms. Scheibel, so this is a model generated value. You did not adjust any parameters?
Correct.
Okay. And just to be clear, the cap rate that you've suggested or the model has suggested, you've said that it is coming from the office sector?
Correct.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
Just one. I notice it's one premise, one building, and the lease is only for 1,550 square feet, yet the property is 5,571. What else is happening in there?
It's I provide what reported for us, but if you look on page number 1, leasable area of this property 5,571 square feet, and we assess around $19 per square foot. We don't apply this lease. That showed around $58 per square foot.
Okay, so you don't know what else might be happening in the remaining square footage. It was just specific.
No,
what's
because nothing, no any improvement, no any changes, any addition or demolish was happened, so it stay as is. But if you look on, oh, okay, that's it.
That's good. Thank you. It's just the info that you were provided. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Sealand, questions?
Yes, have you inspected this property?
Although I have not inspected it, the subject property, I am able to completely and accurately describe it based on the data we have on the file.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, and I don't think I have any additional questions, so thank you very much for your submission. Mr. Navarro, can we have your submission, please?
For sure. So I think the assessor has described the property quite well at this point, so I can just, if I may ask everyone to turn to page 15. The rental rate that we actually asked the owner about is correct. So they are actually getting on a monthly basis what the rent actually dictates on page 29 of the brief. So they are getting $89.25 per month. We do recognize that the square footage is incorrect, so we've applied 5571 to it, which is the total area of the building, and that works out to 1922, which is slightly higher than the assessor's rent. So I don't believe rent is an issue in this case. The lease was signed in December of 2022, and it is a 5-year term. So if you turn to page 17, we get the income approach summary. So the income that we have in place for it is 107,100, 2% vacancy, effective market income of 104,798, $6 shortfall, 3% for non-recoverables, and a net operating income of 101,141. We've applied a 7% cap rate to this, and the income value is 1,444,868, or 1,445,000 rounded. The cap rate comes from the retail cap study that we've submitted along with this. This cap study would have been submitted along with just about every Altus report prior to this hearing. And I'm sure most of you have probably already heard it at one point. So the way that we've stratified it is by asset classes. You can see that on page 16. And we have 3 asset classes: retail top quality, retail standard quality, and retail low quality. The retail top quality, in our opinion, would be essentially more so those larger regional centers, that type of scenario. Your Sterling Lions, Keniston, Polo Park, that type of scenario. So we've assigned it a standard quality, in this case of 7%. And in the appendix, we have basically property information that we've downloaded from city records, and also the income expense mailers supplied by the owner. So I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Schnabel, do you have questions for Mr. Navarro at this point?
Thank you. No questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
Yes, have you inspected this property?
Officially, no. I've been in it because of I've been a customer here, but no official inspection.
Okay, thanks so much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Duncan, questions?
Yeah, just you have good description and examples of the different factors that's considered in your cap rate. I'm just wondering, this falls into the standard. So if you were to give me a bit of a summary utilizing the factors that are there, you know, like age, location, quality of building, like where did you come up with the mid-range, the standard?
Well, oddly enough, this actually falls into the top quality and the standard quality if you look at it. So it's the tail end of the top quality and the bottom end of the retail standard quality. But the way that I view this is that this is an individual location. There's nothing wrong with the location in terms of the tenancies. I mean, generally we would see more risk to a property, a single tenant property. But this is a long-term lease, so there's not too much at risk here. I just hesitate to put it into the retail top quality simply because generally we assign that to larger properties. We do it for some gas stations, but for the most part, any type of vehicle service garage or vehicle dealership, they're generally in the retail standard quality unless they're a superior type of location, like an auto mall, for example, would be a superior location. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It was just a bit of a summary of why the standard quality based on the factors. So I think you've touched on those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I think I'm good with respect to the questions on this, so thank you very much for your submission, Mr. Navarro. And so is there any summation that you'd like to make, either party?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we are loaded on this property. We shall move on to next property being at 715 Pembina Highway. So Ms. Shable, could we have your submission on this property, please?
Thank you. File number 24-3321, roll number 12012583100. We did assess 2025 years with reference day April 1st, 2023 at 1,131,000. The subject property has improvements, a service garage, original built in 1970. Located neighborhood 107, Abbey, Wentworth. A suite on land area of 32,993 square feet with leasable area of 5,375 square feet. Land to plan area 6.14. On page number 2, started air photo and street view of subject property. The subject property located on the southwest side of the city. It has a irregular shape of land. Street view on page number 4. Right now it shows that land for sale. It's located in zoning C2. This district intends to accommodate more intensive commercial sites that do not have a local or neighborhood orientation. The district intends to include attractive commercial, institutional, recreational, and service facilities needed to support surrounding neighborhood and broader community. On page number 9, I provide a sale brochure posted by Shindiga. You can see that it's right now on for sale on page 6 through 7, 8, 9 through page 11. So on page number 8, it's presented site of building. It's for sale. It's not sale, yes, it's 2.8 million posted. And what I was looking into, 1 second, I want to.
This is the current listing, Ms. Shable?
Yes, it's current posting. What happened with property? It's not sold yet.
I appreciate that, but this is the most current sale offering, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you put on, if you look on page number 8, features and large and parking lot, signature opportunity on free size, freestanding pilot size, 5 grade level overhead door, fence, but very important last, excellent redevelopment opportunity. So it's possible, it's facing Pembina, it will be redeveloped. That's why I provide land value of subject property. If you look on page number 12, subject property access on 1.1 million for 32,993 square feet and give us land value per square foot $34.28. Let's look on my comparables. I have comparables that showed a mean of $66.89 and media $53.89. And we assess less as $35 per square foot. Let's look on my comparables, land comparables. On page number 15, irregular shape of land on 634 Portridge. It's for 34,909 square feet, was sold in 2019 for $75.91 per square foot. On page number 16, 198 Sherbrooke, sold 12,300 square feet in 2020 for $52.44. And you see neighborhood 103, subject property 107. So I try to find closest property for sale. On page number 17, 835 Notre Dame Avenue. It was sold 19,463 square feet in 2020 for $46.24. You can see on top photo is what was during sale, and bottom photo what happened right now on this property improvements, like same on previous property. Comparables on page 18, land of 79 Notre Dame Avenue, in 28 neighborhood. Land area 15,494 square feet, sold in 2021 for $53.89. It was parking area, and now it's improvements in process. On page 19, 207 Osborne, land area 26,961 square feet, sold in 2020 for $105.97. It's was small improvements. Now it's completely demolished. In construction new started. Go back to my page. Page 12.
Sorry, Ms. Shable, can I just get you to rewind just a little bit? You said, has this building been demolished on the subject? No.
No,
Okay.
it's still improvements there, but it's opportunity for redevelopment. It's
Okay.
very big.
I
It's
wanted to understand that,
mhm.
that distinction, because it's important. So, and again, forgive me again for asking this maybe a bit out of turn, but you valued the property just on the land value, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you very much.
So based of my evidence analysis, April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property land is $1,131,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Navarro. Questions at this point?
I do. Ms. Scheibel, is this advertisement current?
Current, what I found in online.
Okay, and what is the reference date?
It's prior to this submission. It will be submission was beginning January.
No, the question was, what is the reference date for this assessment?
2023.
Okay, so I think the first question that I would ask after this is, should this have actually been included in your submission?
It's a highest and best use of subject property, vacant land for future development.
Okay. The next question is, have you conducted a highest and best use analysis?
Just this brochure sale showed for future redevelopment, plus our income approach doesn't support land value of this property.
Okay. And do you know of any demolition permits?
Not yet. So sale didn't yet get through. It just posted.
And do you know of any applications for redevelopment?
If you look on this brochure on page number 8, it showed excellent redevelopment opportunity, and it's our past experience showed that a lot of property on Pembina redevelopment going.
And the last question is you would agree that this is an advertisement, correct? A marketing brochure?
It's advertising, yes, but our model showed that this property land value only.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
I'm just not clear on your workup. I see that the rent you have is $34.28. On land only was 32,933 square feet. Is there anything else to your valuation workup? Is there?
It's my land sale comparables. If you look on top table, I have 5 comparables showed how much land cost.
Yeah, I seen all the comparables, but is that the only calculation you used? Is the rent by the square footage for land? There's no cap, there's no.
No, because it's a model code cannot support this land value.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Thielen, questions?
Yes, is this property been up for sale previous to this latest brochure that you provided?
Yes, I find this brochure at beginning January by preparation for this brief.
So that's January of 2024?
5.
2025. Has it been up for sale previously? Do you know if it's been up in the past for sale?
Let's see. It was sale in 2001. If you look on page number 2, last sale was in 2001, 350,000.
I was just curious if it was advertised previous to this latest 2025 date. Has it been up for sale ever for redevelopment like this in previously to this brochure that you put in your evidence?
If you ask about brochure for 2001, I didn't have in front of me.
So there's really nothing between 2001 that you're aware of and 2025 with respect to selling this property?
No, it was a lease. If you look on page 13, what they showed us, it was lease for 60,000.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think I'm gonna go to further down that road with that Mr. Seelan just went down with respect to page 14, where you see the income and expense mailer that was returned. And I can see this was Can West Auto as the tenant. And they had a lease that ended in I guess August of 23.
Correct.
Is that the information that you have?
Yes, and same at support in advertising brochures that it's relocated already.
Right, so do you know, and again, I'm going back a little bit further to Mr. Seelan's original question, which was, do you know when the property was put on for sale? Do you think it was just finally advertised in January of this year?
No, it's just my reference when I find this brochure.
Okay, yeah, and you're not certain if it might have been earlier in 2023, correct?
I don't know.
Fair enough, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. And ultimately, the model determined that the income value did not support the land value. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so this was not a determination that you made. It was made by the model, correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Those are my questions. All right, any summation? Oh, no, sorry, Mr. Navarro. Let us have your
Yeah,
take on this property,
we can
please.
turn to page 15. So we have 5375, we've put a rent of 1228. And we have actually, we had an update from the owner on this in terms of the rent. So they indicated to us that they had extended the lease for the tenant at that time to June 2024 at a rate of 1228 per square foot for an annual rent of 66,005. That's not in the income and expense questionnaire. That is a conversation that we had with the owner. In terms of the value, you can see it on page 17. We've gone with the rent that we've applied, 66,005, 2% vacancy allowance, $6 shortfall, 3% non-recoverables, net operating income of 62,099, and a capitalization rate of 7.25. And an income value of 856,543, and the current assessment is 1,131,000. So apart from that, we've just included some city records and also the income expenses that were submitted by the owner. So I am open for questions.
Yes, Shable, any questions for Mr. Navarro?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
Yes, I know we have this current lease, but do we know how long this location is supported car dealerships or car sales dealerships?
I'm not exactly sure of the age, 2004 of this. I'm not actually sure that that age is actually correct on the building. So sorry, looking at the wrong property. So 1970 to 1988 to 1998 is the actual years built, and effective years are 1985. So from what I understand, this has been a dealership for quite some time. It used to be Haber Suzuki at one point. And that was a long time ago. It hasn't been a Haber Suzuki for a long time. That brand, I don't think, is even sold in Canada anymore. So from my understanding, this property has always been a car dealership, and that is a branded dealership. And once it lost the branding, it became a used car dealership. And it has been used as a used car dealership since then. I'm not exactly sure when the Suzuki brand went away. I mean, I remember it in the late 90s. So that's just speculation on my part, but it's been a dealership for a very long time. And, you know, I see what the model is doing. It's flipping over to land value. It does this for parking in the downtown as well, where it thinks that the income value is not representative of the value of the property. I would think that even if you did flip the value to a land value, you're still not accounting for certain things that would need to be done in that case. So there would need to be an adjustment for example, this is not a vacant lot.
demolition costs, those things, servicing costs that would come with that. Even then, I think there would be necessity for some type of adjustment to that value if a land value was being proposed. Secondly, I think at this point, it's just speculation. I mean, it is an advertisement. It is a post-reference date advertisement, I may add. So whether we should have even considered this evidence is a question, but it's there. So what I would say at this point is that there is no demolition permits. There's no application for rezoning or for an application for redevelopment. None of that is there. So at this point, the current use is the highest and best use in my opinion, unless you can prove otherwise.
Have you inspected this location by chance?
I have been in this location in previous cycles, correct? Yeah, it is an older location. It's got some nice details to it, but in terms of how it looks in comparison to modern car dealerships, there is no real comparison. This is dated. The buildings are older. The site location is out of the way for most types of branded dealerships. So this would be specifically targeted towards used car dealerships at this point in its life cycle.
And your cap rate is 7.25%, I believe here.
Yeah, so if you notice in the previous property, we put a 7.0 on that property, very similar location area. But there's just some differences in terms of the condition of the property and the age of it. We gave it a slightly higher capitalization rate, but it would be in that range of 7 to 7.25 in my.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
Just, there's no comparables as far as supporting the value. It's pretty much the actuals that you went with, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. I think in terms of the actual, it's probably the best representation of the market value for this specific location, given what's there. And often the comparisons that we get are of maybe better situated properties. We don't know what's included in the leases. When we do use a market approach, it is specifically in the situation where it is an owner-occupied property and we have no other choice. But even then, we try and look at the leases to see what is included in the leases if we have that information, and we make appropriate adjustments. In this case, we don't really feel the need to make any adjustment because that is the rent that is in place, that the owner dictated to us. It would be, in our opinion, the best representation of market.
Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, I'm kind of wanting to circle back to, I believe, a comment you made with respect to page 15, where you said something to the effect that the owner, Mr. Haber, apparently he's still the owner of the property. So he's a longtime owner, obviously.
Yeah.
That he extended the lease that was in place that ended in, again, forgive me for kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but ended in August 23rd of 2023. So at the end of that lease that he had with CanWest Auto, he then told you that they extended the lease by
A few months.
Yeah. And they used $12 and change for the lease.
Yeah.
So would you agree with me that that lease information then is post-reference?
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Yes, there is. And so there's that, and.
However, what I would say is that, because it is an increase on the existing, we didn't feel that it was an issue to increase the rent.
Okay,
And, even from the market perspective, if we would have looked at market comparisons, we probably would have bumped it up just from that a little bit.
fair enough, and I appreciate the comment. Now, I'm going to now go back to, going to something else that I think, I'd like to understand why you. I'm not sure if you knew that the department's valuation had defaulted to land. So that's one question. Were you aware that the department had defaulted to land?
I read the brief I had on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you were aware of that?
Yeah.
Did you consider looking at land values to see if in fact your income is supporting at the very least, the land value? Because that principle is fairly straightforward, where if it does not meet the value of the land, at the very least, it's land value, correct?
Right. So I think in order for me to consider the land value of the property, I would want assurance that this property is at the cusp of redevelopment. So are there any signs that this is going to be redeveloped? I don't know. So certainly I didn't consider the post-reference date information that the assessor put in there. And I also spoke with the owner, and they didn't make any indication that the site is being redeveloped in any way.
But I will say this about that comment, or I'll ask. The owner may not be in fact interested in redeveloping it himself, and that's why he may not have.
For sure.
Conveyed that to you, so
Okay,
by fact that he's trying to sell it, irrespective of what he's asking, that makes absolutely no difference in the whole issue.
right.
But he is trying to sell it, and part of
Another another potential purchaser may be looking at something else for this site. You're right, there could be that. That said, if we're defaulting to land value, there's a building there. So,
well, there is, but if it's not contributing to the overall value of the property, then you do default to land, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, you're buying a property with a building that you can conceivably use for some time until maybe you think that development is appropriate. And that's where we don't know the development horizon at all.
No, I mean, at this point, all of us are speculating.
Yeah,
But ultimately, the principle of it can't be worth less than the value of the land that it sits on is one that we're governed by, really.
I think you can get away with that somewhat with the parking argument a little bit easier than you can with this, because there actually is a physical asset there.
Well, I've run across this before, and sometimes buildings encumber the land, and that's and then of course you'll get the argument from people regarding, well, if there's a building on it, then you'd have to take the land value less cost of demolition, and that's your actual value, right? Because if you're looking to redevelop it, that's really what would end up happening, correct?
So when we ask ourselves this question, and we can flip right to page 11, because these are the questions that we do ask ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
It must be a legal permitted use under local administrative regulations such as zoning. The use must be probable rather than unlikely or highly speculative. The use must be complementary rather than competitive. There must be a demand for such use. The use must be the most profitable for the entire property and generate the highest net return over a reasonable amount of time. So some of these are met clearly. Okay. The one that, in our opinion, isn't met is number 2. Is it probable rather than unlikely, or is it highly speculative at this point? And at this point, I would say that we are still speculating until we know that there are at the very least, some type of move for development, an application or something,
And you,
a new owner, then I think at that point, we can make that judgment call, but at this point, we still don't have that information. And we still don't know what the property sold for. They're
No,
asking
no.
2.8 million, but
And-
who knows what it's gonna sell for.
and as I said, I think the marketing for this is, you're going to ask for the earth, the moon and the stars.
Of course,
That doesn't mean anything really at the end of the day, because
Yeah.
it's the transaction that we're looking for, and that hasn't taken place. And even if it did take place at this point, it's post reference.
yeah, so.
But
there's-
if the did take place, you at least then know that there'd be a new owner, and there is potential for speculating at that
So,
point that they would change. this.
If I saw a sale on here that said it sold for $3.2 million. I wouldn't question the assessor if they changed it to land value, and there's the proof right there.
All right, but those, we are then really getting off into a speculative. So those are my questions. I do appreciate the information that you've provided and your brief. Thank you very much. Is there any summation that you'd like to make, either party at this point?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Appreciate it. All right, we will move on to the next property. That being 747 Pembina Highway. So Ms. Shable, could we have your submission on this property, please?
Thank you. File number 24-2489. Roll number is 120-975-11900. We did assess 2025 with reference day April 1st, 2023 at 2,392,000. The subject property auto service related, original built in 2004, suited in land area 24,199 square feet, with plan area 1,760 square feet, that is gross and leasable area. On page number 2, this property was sold in 2012 for 2.4 million. On page number 3, subject property has a store in kiosk in pump. We assess 1,760 square feet at $45.79. On bottom of same page number 3, I provided 5 comparables with store kiosk pump station, gas station, showed average $62.59. Let's look specific on my comparables. We open page 11. First comparables of gas station of 705 Osborne Street. This building built in 1994, has rent from 2019 for 1,000 square feet at $43.99. It's Husky gas station. On page 12, gas station on 1484 Inster Boulevard, original built in 1993, lease size 2017 for 500 square feet at $80 per square foot. You can see a photo and the street view. On page 13, another gas station on 80 Kivotian Street, built original 2012, and lease something for start dates, it will be 2005. I know what's happened, for 1,344 square feet and $93.75. You can see a rumble shape of land with gas station cap and a kiosk. Another gas station with kiosk on page number 14 or 1070 Henderson Highway, built in 2018, 1,680 square feet, rent $51.22. It's co-op gas station and kiosk. Another comparables on page 15, 1425 McPhillips Street, original 204, rent for 2,330 square feet at $43.99. We come back to page 3. So 5 my comparable showed average $62.59, weight average when all will be $58.15 for 6,854 square feet together. Media $51.22. So subject property we assess it's $45.79. It's very well supported by my comparables. Give us a potential rent on $80,590. We did apply vacancy loss 2% across the city for this type of property, 3% not recoverable expenses, shortfall $6 per square foot, give us net operating income of $76,398. As model generate 4.8% capitalization rate. And also for a gas pump, we give additional building value of $80,000. Give us together $2,392.
That would be $800,000, correct, Ms. Shable?
800,000, thank you. 800,000 for gas pump equipment. If you open page number 9, it will be on first stop, it will be subject property detached structure data, show the detached structure, 814,000. But we have to take out paving asphalt and paving concrete, give us 18,000 for detached structure. Also, I look at land value of subject property. If you look on page number 8, I have same set of comparables for subject property that located in the neighborhood 100 Sam Eben Wentworth, and my comparable close proximity for land give us estimation $66.89 per square foot. If you look on page number 9, we assess land in $58.06. Let's we already look on my lands and previous case. So based on evidence in analysis, the April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property is $2,392,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions, Mr. Navarro?
Yes. The first question that I have pertains to 80 Wayton Street. And I note that there is a lease there, and I'm sure that it's not from 1905 to 1905.
Yeah, please cross this list. It started 205.
205, okay.
Yeah, it
Now-
sometimes happens with Excel spreadsheet.
I note that this used to be a Husky gas station and it was bought by Co-op now, and this is now a co-op, so is it not owner occupied?
They reported for us that they have lease.
They have a lease, okay. So that was the existing lease that was in place prior to the purchase of the business?
Yes,
Okay.
Because I was look for income expenses mailer 2022. All this information provided to us.
Okay, and Garden City, 1425 McPhillips. I'm just gonna see if I have that one in my list. No. Oh, yes, I do.
Petrochem.
Yeah, that's the Petrocan. So I have a leasable area of 4580. And note that it is a C-store and a car wash. So is your calculation correct?
It's leased for specific for a gas station and a kiosk.
Okay, but you do note that there is a car wash in that location.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
And it's rent by yeah, it's separate rent.
okay, and 1484 Inkster. Yes, I also have that. That is a small kiosk. That is around 500 square feet, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
That's why it's rent $80 per square foot. And we assess around $45 per square foot.
okay. And lastly, regarding the cap rate, 4.80. The only cap rates that you have in your cap rate information that are that low come from the multifamily sector. Can you just elaborate on the cap rate and why it's so low?
It is cap rate model generated in
Oh,
our
okay.
table on page
Got it.
5.
It's model generated.
Yeah, we showed
Okay.
only 60%. It's
Okay.
outside is 60%.
You've answered my
Our
question.
analysis. Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions at this point?
What do we know? What do you know about the sale in 2012? Was it arm's length?
Yes, but it's so many years. It's 11 years before reference date, so we just don't apply it.
And then in regards to the cap rate, I know you kind of answered the question. It's model generated, at the lower. What about this property? It was built in 2004. What would make it exceptional? Because I know location on the previous one on Pembina got a 6.20 cap. So it can't be location. What makes this property so much better to put it in lower percentile?
If you look on page number 1, we can see on land divide by plant area give us 13.75 ratio. So measure of value of this property is land. So by applying 4.8% capitalization rate just to support this property assessment, it's less investment, or how say. That's why model generated this part much lower, because measure in land value.
So primarily based on the land. Okay.
Because it's huge ratio.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Questions?
My questions have been answered, Mr. Chair. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And I don't think I have any further questions, so Mr. Navarro, please, if we could have your submission, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So this is 747 Pembina Highway. This is a Red River Cooperative location. It is on the corner of Pembina Highway and Taylor. I live in the area. I can't even remember the name. First of all, I'll speak to the sale. We looked at the sale. We didn't consider it. We know that at the time that there was assets shifting from Federated Cooperative to Red River Cooperative. Those were predominantly internal transactions, so we didn't look at this as a valid sale. In terms of the property itself, let's look at some of the pictures of it on page 6 and page 7. So I noted in the assessor's brief that there was a land to plan area ratio of 13.75. That is based exclusively on the C-store. However, you can see from the pictures on page 7, the very top one, that there's not just a C-store there. There is a large canopy occupying a large portion of that site. And there are pumps and tanks underneath that. So no, the land to plan ratio is not 13.75. It's actually quite low. And if you've ever been in this location or pumped gas at this location, you'd note that it is, I mean, it's not, you don't have a lot of space to move around. So the land plan ratio issue, I think, is moot. In terms of the in terms of the valuation process, we've obviously used the income approach. On page 12, you can see our comparisons. So we've looked at gas stations based on several different types that operate. So there are C-stores that operate with car washes. There are C-store only gas stations. And then there are some gas stations which have smaller kiosk type of operations. So this would be kind of like your Domo gas outlets. And we distinguish between the three types. We also have a couple of car wash leases in there as well. So from our perspective, this is a property that is operating as a C-store only. And we looked at similar types of properties. So we have comparisons in the list on page 12. We have 4 comparisons, and that would be index 4, 7, 8, and 9. And 4 is, again, 801 Regent Avenue, built in 1986, 2,682 square feet. You can see the lease start date and end date there. The rent is $27.30 per square foot. The next one is 705 Osborne, and that is $32.93 per square foot. And the next one after that is 120 Keewatin, 2,800 square feet at $30 per square foot. And after that, 1091 Henderson Highway, $20 per square foot, 2,500 square feet. So we have a rent on this property of $34 per square foot based on the size of the property. So if you can change over to page 16, we can go over the parameters of this property. So this is a Red River Co-op, 1,760 square feet, $34 rent, and that is $59,840 in terms of the market rent on the C-store. 2% vacancy, 6% $6 shortfall, 3% non-recoverables. The entire allowance of expenses is $1,970. We have a net operating income of $56,673, and we've applied a $650 rent to it. Or sorry, $650 capitalization rate. That gives us an income value of $871,888. And we've also added the $800,000 in adjustments to this property. So just to give you a background on those, most gas station properties have underground tanks, canopies, and pumps, which are accessible essentially, but they're not accessible on the income approach. They're only accessible on the cost approach. And in terms of how we look at them, well, for the most part, we tend not to disagree with the assessor in terms of their their value of the cost items. So if you look at, I believe the assessor's brief, you can see on page 3 of their brief that they have $800,000 in additional to the building value. That is again for the canopies, pumps, and tanks. Those values are taken directly out of Marshall Swift. We review them as well, so we have no disagreement on those items. Typically, we're not questioning them unless we know that there are, for example, newer tanks or older tanks, and we have a dispute with the value. But for the most part, the Marshall Swift values are accurate, so we do agree with those. The total indicated value is $1,671,888, rounded to $1,672,000. And beyond that, we have some information that we've downloaded from the city site and also the income expenses that have been supplied by the owner. I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Questions, Ms. Shable?
Yes, page 12, please. Would you agree that subject property is kiosk and gas station?
A kiosk and a gas station.
A subject property. What we
Yeah,
looking?
you could call it a C-store, kiosk, whatever.
Okay. From your 15 comparables, which comparables has a kiosk and gas station together?
Most of these.
Could you point
The
out?
only exception to that is number 13 and 14, which are only car washes. The rest of them are all gas stations.
Would you agree that car wash rent much lower than for gas pump and kiosk?
Well, that would depend on how you look at it. So we have a set of C-store only comparisons, and we've used those. I believe in my questioning of you, I noted some irregularities in your comparables. So I would say that we've gone over our comparisons in pretty good detail. We think that they are correct. If you have only a C-store, in general, you're going to be producing less income, and that is the C-store portion of it only. Please remember that we're not valuing the volume of gas that these properties pump out. That's business. But we do value the cost items. So I think we're fine. I think $34 is around where it should be.
Would you agree that kiosk without gas pump will be a rent for less? Because it's less attraction from customers?
Kiosk without gas pumps?
Correct.
I don't know. I don't understand that.
If kiosk doesn't have a gas pump, it will be rent much lower than subject property. Potential
You're saying
rent.
a store then, in essence, just a.
Yeah, just store without any gas pump on site.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry.
So yeah, I think I know what you're getting at. So like a 7-Eleven or something like that, a standalone C-store. Yeah, it would have a considerably lower rent, and we're not using those types of comparisons to begin with. We're using comparisons of gas stations with, in this case, predominantly gas stations with car washes or gas stations without car washes.
Would you agree that we already agree that car wash usually rent for less? If gas station, kiosk, and car wash rent together, car wash rent for less, so it's not comparison to the subject property. Would you agree?
Well, so you had 1484 Keniston, which you valued at $880 per square foot, but you didn't note on it that there was also a car wash on it. So your rent is incorrect. what we've done is we've broken apart the gas stations that only have C-stores and the gas stations that have C-stores and car washes. And
So,
the rent that I'm applying is the rent that I would apply to a property that only has a C-store. So
in your case, only from 10 to 12 has small kiosk with gas station on in East region and Ness, correct? It's no car wash there, and they
No.
have gas pump, correct?
yeah, the small kiosk ones are your smaller locations, like the Domo locations.
So it is comparables on 1484 Inster, 5084 region, 6025 NES. It will be best represent subject property, kiosk and
Sorry,
gas pump.
I recognize that I made a mistake. So 1484 1484 Inkster, I believe, is a
Region.
Domo location. Yeah,
And in this rent between
Garden
$80
City.
per square foot for $159 per square foot. It will be market rent of subject property, best representation, correct?
No, I don't agree with that.
Thank you. No further questions.
Okay. Questions, Mr. Seeler?
My questions have been asked and answered. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, questions?
Did I hear you correct earlier? The 4 properties that you were utilizing was 4, 7, 8, and 9 in your comparables?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay, and I was just gonna explore that very vein of information that Ms. Duncan just brought up. So being that you have 4 comparisons of C-stores, is you're trying to zoom in on that. And I appreciate it's not always easy to find exactly because sometimes
There are differences in
there always are. Location, size, all kinds of things. But in the case that you have, you've got a range in rents from $20 a square foot up to $32.93 a square foot. And lease start dates that start from 2010 all the way up to 2021. And yet you have a rent that you applied of $34 on the subject property.
Mhm.
So you've looked at your comps and you've still felt that the subject was superior by a fair amount, I'm guessing.
Just because I pump gas at this location, it's packed all the time. I know that it does good business, so, and location is great. So, yes, accounting for the age of the leases and some of the comparisons and the location, that's why I'm increasing the rent.
Do you feel it's superior?
Yeah.
All right, okay, but you also, and I appreciate that everyone picks their own comparisons, etc. But when I look at what the assessors put forward, with maybe the exception of 1425 Phillips and the property on Inkster, which is just a small kiosk, and I don't think we can really rely much on that. But the other 3 properties are similar in a lot of ways. And you have some varying rents that are much heavier than the rent that you're suggesting at this point.
Yeah, so if I may,
Yeah, no, please,
Yeah.
I'd like to
Sure.
have you.
So
go down that for me.
1425 McPhillips is a particular, is an interesting case. That is the Petro-Canada gas station in Northgate.
Yes.
Okay.
And she mentioned that she only put the gas bar part of it.
which is not correct because it also has a car wash.
No, and I appreciate that, but Ms. Shable, just I wanna retouch on that particular property specific. You gave us the rent per square foot on the, or the assessment per square foot, well, I guess the rent. And the rent per square foot only on the C-store and the gas pumps, is that correct?
Correct. It's
Not-
two different rents.
Okay, so physically in that statement, you have two different rents applied to that property. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct. In
Okay,
car
and you
wash,
only
much
produce-
lower.
And you only produce the C-store along with the pumps, et cetera, correct?
Yes, to support subject property existence.
So, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah.
Please.
So what I find interesting about that comment is that I've provided the entire rent for that location on page 12 of 1425 McPhillips Street, 126,999.96, okay? And so somebody is making an arbitrary adjustment based on what they've allocated towards the C-store versus the car wash, because you can't break the two apart. They're a rent for both items.
Same owner,
Yeah,
same tenant.
exactly. So I don't believe that rent that Ms. Scheibel has there is actually correct. It's been adjusted. Now, another point that I'll make regarding 1070 Henderson Highway. So this one is 1680. It is only a C-store. However, it was recently built. It is also an existing pad lease. So that rent actually didn't even change from the existing building the building that used to be there. They just kept the rent going. So because it's in a little bit of a shopping mall area, we think that there's some irregularities with that one. However, the rent didn't change from the older building to the new building, which is strange in our opinion, because you would think that the rent would have actually increased beyond that, or they would have signed a new lease, but they didn't. 1484 Inkster is a very small kiosk, as we noted. That is the Domo, I believe, on Leela. No, sorry, Inkster.
Inkster, this is I think it's a temple.
Tempo, yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. And 705 Osborne Street, I believe this is also now a co-op location.
It is.
And I'm not sure if they lease it or whether they own the property on this one. That would be an existing lease, but it is also 700 square feet. Smaller, so I mean, I think you can find some reasoning in terms of the adjustments that I've made, and I think we actually documented the lease rates and annual rent correctly. Again, I thought there was just some small peculiarities in the assessor's leases that I noted, because some of them were in my study as well.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much. Any summation from either party at this point?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Our job here today is to analyze the market evidence. It determines the best conclusion of market value. One major area of disagreement is rent. Assessment apply rents specific for kiosk and pump. It's showed around $35 per square foot. By applying rent for car wash and C-store without gas pump, that rent for less and inferior to the subject property, agent underestimated the subject property value. Based on my evidence, the market value of subject property on April 1st, 2023 market value is $2,392,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any final thoughts, Mr. Navarro?
I don't, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. With that, I believe we've completed that particular property on the docket, so we will move on to,
Chair, can we
I'm
take,
wondering,
uh,
yes,
I believe it's close to a time to
Break time.
break. Is that what you're gonna ask for, Mr. Seelan?
yes, Mr. Chair, I think we could take a short break if you don't
5
mind.
or 10 minute break, that would be great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much and welcome back. Ms. Shable, we have now moved on to 370 Daly Street North. So can we have your presentation on this property, please?
thank you. File number 24-1588, roll number 120, original built in 1947 through 1981. It's located neighborhood 106, Earl Grey. Land area of subject property 54,612 square feet. Plan area, gross area, leasable area 5,335 square feet. On page number 2, we have information that subject property lease for improvements lease and parking lease. It has comments Murray Krister. Okay, it's leased by 4 people, 4 tenants. On page number 3, subject property located on south west side of the city. We can see street view, air photo view. It's a irregular shape of land. On proof A4, 5. Zoning C2 commercial community. This district intend to accommodate more intensive commercial site. They do not have a local or neighborhood orientation. The district intend to include attractive commercial, institutional, recreation, and service facility needed to support surrounding neighborhood and broader community. We assess 5,335 square feet at $13.57 average. On same page number 7 on bottom, I presented sex evidence showed that this building was built between 1952 to 1997 and showed average $15.79 or average $18.24. Let's look on my comparables on page 11. First comparables on 340 Pembina, building built in 1977, 5,400 square feet, rent for $19.83, one-story building. On page 12, I have comparables on 5 Pembina Highway. It's located in same neighborhood, York Gray. Their building old 1952, rent from 2023 for 4,339 square feet at $24.89. Comparable on 13 on 1577 Erin Street. Building in 1984 built, lease from end 2022 for 2.8 thousand square feet, $17.05. One-story building on page 14, 940 Logan Avenue, building from 1985, lease from August 2021 for 3.8 overall square feet for $14.29. Comparables on page 15. It's 1825 King Edward Street, lease from 2020 for 5,250 square feet at $15.43. You can see regular shape of land. And my last comparables on 3333 Portridge Avenue, lease building, one of building from 1980, lease from end 2021 for 2,240 square feet at $16.38. All my comparables showed average $15.79. We assess $13.57. It's generated by model, but very well supported by my comparables. Give us a lease potential rent of $72,403. We did apply same vacancy loss of 2% across the city for service garage. Expenses not recoverable 3% and shortfall $6 per square foot. It's for vacant space. Give us a net operating income 68,186. Model generates 6.4% capitalization rate, give us 1,065,000. On page, I presented on page 17 through 18, I posted income expense mailer provided for us from the subject property. It showed it's partially in gross rent inside, 80% for property occupied, and generate 110,000 rent. Based on evidence, it's a follow-up with income 2025 property assessment notice and appeal information. Based on my evidence analysis, April 1st, 2023, market value of subject property, 1,065,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Seelan, questions?
Yes, just wondering if you had inspected this location.
Although I didn't inspect it, the subject property, I'm able to completely accurately describe it based on the data we have on file.
Thanks so much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I have no questions, so Mr. Navarro, can we have your presentation at this point?
Of course. So on page 6 and 7, you can see some pictures of the property. Lot is somewhat irregular in shape. What I will note is that this property is located next to the CNR main line. So future development of residential, I think would be difficult because of the required setbacks in that particular location. This is an older building. You can see a front-facing picture of it on the bottom of page 6. And it was built in 2 stages. So I believe we have the building, this building parameters on page 21. So the first section, which is the larger section, 4,120 square feet, was built in 1947. And the next section, which was 1,215 square feet, was built in 1981. I have been in this location in the past. At this moment, it's mainly being used for vehicle parking. And I believe more recently, there was a tenant working outside of the building, and part of the building is actually used by the owner themselves. The leases I kind of disregarded because mostly leases for the dealerships to store their vehicles. I actually don't have an issue with the assessor's rent or their net operating income. For the most part, I think it's fine. So if you are inclined to accept that, I am as well. It's 68,186. It's not far from mine to begin with. The problem that I have with the property is, again, with capitalization rate, which I think we're looking at a slightly older building. Well, not slightly, it's very old. And the condition of it is not great. So I would have adjusted that capitalization rate. 6.40 in our opinion is a cap rate for a better type of building. So that is the only issue that I have with the property, is the capitalization rate. In the appendix, I've included, again, some property-specific information downloaded from the city records. And also the income and expenses that were supplied by the owner. So I am open for questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shable, any questions for the appellant?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
And I don't believe I have any questions either at this point, seeing that this is just an argument over a cap rate.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any final summation on the new party?
No, thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Concludes this item on the docket. We go on to the next item on the docket, this being sorry, 1626 Ness Avenue. Ms. Shable, could we have your presentation on this, please?
Thank you. File number 24-2977, roll number 07569051300. We did assess 2025 with reference day April 1st, 2023 at 2,258,000. The subject property service related garage, original built in 2009, located in neighborhood in Polo Park, 125 Polo Park neighborhood. It has zoning C4 commercial regional. Land area of subject property 17,988 square feet. Gross floor area and plan area 540 square feet and leasable area 450 square feet. Give us land plant area ratio 33.31. On page 3, air photo is street view of subject property started. It's located on northwest side of the city. Divide a city for 4 parts. It's a regular shape of land on page number 4 and street view on page number 5. So it's a zoning C4 commercial regional. This district intend to accommodate the development of larger scale, distinctive, attractive. Yes.
Ms. Shable, if I can just stop you there. If you are going to read the C4 information there on page 6, it's not necessary to go through it all. If we have any questions, we will refer to it at our own time. Thank you.
Just to mention that it's the most expensive C4 commercial regional land. On page number 7, I presented market evidence for store kiosk and pump station. We assess 450 square feet at $178.97. On page number 7 on bottom, I presented 5 comparables with a same store kiosk and pump station. Showed average $175.14. Let's look on my comparables. Started on page 14. First kiosk and gas station located on 1883 Portridge Avenue. Rent for $375.74. Another comparables on page 15 on 14 Wardlaw Avenue. Rent for $146.34. It's small kiosk and gas pump. On page, like subject property, On page number 16, comparables of 721 Watt Street, rent for $137.89. Comparables on page 17, 1484 Inster Boulevard, rent 500 square feet, much higher than subject, it's much a little bit higher than subject property at $18 per square foot. And my comparables on page 18 on 720 St. James Street, rent for $85.71. If you come back to my summary on page number 7, all these comparables has a small rentable area and media of $137.89. By applying $178.97, give us potential rent of $18, $537. We apply same vacancy loss 2%, expenses not recoverable 3%, short for $6 per square foot for occupancy of vacant space. Give us net operating income of $76,500 for subject property. Model generate 4.3%, give us capitalized value of $1,779,000. We did apply additional building value of detached structure of pump for $179,000, give us estimate value of $2,258,000. On page number 8, I presented subject property structure details, what showed for $479,000. On page 19, income expenses presented for us by the owner, following by 2025 property assessment and appeal document. Based on my evidence, the April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property is $2,258,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, questions at this point?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
Just in regards to the cap rate evidence, and I know this might have been asked on a previous property, but what category are you putting this in? Because there is no 4.30s.
It's outside 60% of the property, but this property has land value to plant area 33.31. It's major land value of subject property, in that why it's select low capitalization rate. It's very small improvements to fix it, and pump it's already, they have to be replaced, but still capitalization rate much low too, because it's no much maintenance involved, renovation or no, how it's, that's it.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
Yes, is the rent that you have your model generated?
Correct, it's model generated.
Okay, when I look at your rent comparables, I find that this rent is really high. The model has it at 178.97, and your median is a 137.89.
Yes, what I find closest to the subject property, but usually this type of property owner occupied, not so many rent provided for us. But you notice that a small property, less than 500 square feet, rent much higher than previous property.
Yes, true. But I just noticed that your comparables, like Wardlaw, Watt Street, in particular, Inkster and St. James, but
This property mall industrial area we located in Polar Park. So Polar Park area of land much expenses is our model try to defend it is.
okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you very much. And I just want to get you to go to page 19. And I see you have income and expenses from the owner of this property, correct?
Correct.
So they are paying $700,000, if I'm reading this correctly, for the rent of this location. Now, would it be accurate to say this is a land lease at 700,000?
It could be land lease. But if you see it, you're right, it's 100,000 and our model generate only 80,000. That's why cap rate so smaller to support this assessment.
Okay, and if you scroll down to page 20. Again, am I reading this correctly? The net income that the owners are getting year to date, December 2022, 357,566. That's his income, correct?
Correct. And you can see on page number 20, this Shell Canada, it's a land lease because it's 80,000 square feet. Yeah, pro rent 20. Okay. Yeah, you're correct.
So this is Madison Square. And this is with Safeway, correct?
Correct.
And it appears it's for 50,000 square feet of land. Is that correct also?
Correct. It's our record. 17,988 square feet and lease on page 20 showed 80,000 square feet of land. But our
Well,
Our-
actually, I don't agree with that number. I'll tell you why. You look at the bottom of page 8, it says commercial rent roll. You see Safeway, 50,000 square feet, and then another line underneath that, Shell Canada, Shell
mhm,
at 18,000 square feet. So it looks like it's 18,000 square feet for the Shell station
in subject property.
and
Correct.
50,000 for the Safeway store, sorry. Would you
Yes,
agree there? Yeah.
correct. Yeah, and you
Okay.
can see annual charge at $2.92 multiplied by 18,000 and give us net rent 52,560.
All right.
Not rent, annual income. And for land together, yeah. Annual charge, if we look on our page 20, Shell. But
Yeah.
this,
So basically what I think I'm seeing there is that's what they're charging for the land, correct?
correct, it's charging to the land. In this land lease was expired in 2023 in September.
Those are my questions. There we go.
1626 Ness Street. As you can see on pages 6 and 7, this is a gas station. However, there is also a Safeway there, which I don't think they're making $700,000 annual payments on this. The annual payment, as Ms. Scheibel has noted, ended in September of 23. At that time, it was $92.59 per square foot. Annually about $50,000 even. And we adjusted that rent upwards to $75,640 per square foot. Even then, I think we're high. But that's what we've gone with. And so we have a rent of
$75,600 annually. On page 15, if you would turn there, 2% vacancy, expense allowance of 2,287. And the net operating income is 71,801. Capitalization rate of 6.50, an income value of 1,104,624. We've added $500,000 in adjustments, and that's for the canopy pumps and tanks. Total value 1,604,624, or 1,605 rounded. And I am open for questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shable, do you have questions for the applicant at this point?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
Yeah, so your rent is based on the number you came up with. Is it based on your market rents, or how did you arrive at it?
I think if I'd gone with the chart that I was using, I probably would have ended up between a $85 and $100. I bumped it up more than that. I don't know why. I think I'm high. I really do think I'm high.
Pretty good location though, isn't
It
it?
is a good location, but even then, I mean, there would be some parity between the previous rent cycle and the next. I would question whether the rent would double. That's what I would say. Or I mean, we haven't doubled the rent, but we've put a fair increase on it. So in terms of the assessor's rent, I think that modeled rent is way too high. Even in terms of the weighted mean and the median in the assessor's brief, it indicates lower. And this is 450 square feet, but it's not 100 square feet. So I noted that a few of the comparisons were about 100 square. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thanks so much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just have one more question.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Do we know anything about the sale, the November 27th, 2018 sale?
I believe that would have included the Safeway as well.
Thank you. No other questions, thanks.
I do note that the rents are you're not close on the rents at this point. Cap rate is an issue, but I also know one other thing that you don't seem to agree with the department on, and that being the tanks, etc. You're at 500,000, and the city's at 479,000.
It's a little bit more, yeah. I would say that when I looked at the tables, I came up with 500,000. So it's fairly close. I mean, they're not too far apart, but generally we do agree with them, and we do double check them. So in this case, we double checked and found that we're a little bit higher, so we went with our higher value.
Oh, a refreshing moment.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I much appreciate it. And with that, I give either party an opportunity to surmise if they'd like.
Yes, please. Our job here today is to analyze the subject evidence and determine the best conclusion of market value. The major area of disagreement is rent. The city apply $178.97 per square foot for 450 square feet. If you use this potential rent for 540 square feet like agent for gross area, it will be $149 per square foot. So it's very well supported by my comparables with average $165.14 per square foot. Based on my evidence analysis, April 1st, 2023, market value of subject property is 2,258,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shable. Any final comments, Mr. Navarro?
I don't, thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we close this particular property off, and we will move on to the next. If I can get this to open up. So, Ms. Shable, we are now at number 6 on the docket, being 283 Ellis Avenue. So you would like to give us your presentation at this time, please, and thank you.
Thank you. File number 24-3564, roll number 1305265700. We did apply VSS 2025 with reference date April 1st, 2023 at 1,081,000. The subject property service garage, original built in 1959 with effective years built 1985. It's located in 165 Central Park, has land area of 12,000 square feet, plan area, gross floor area, and leasable area similar 1,633 square feet. The subject property showed estimated net lease at $27.47 per square foot. Income expense mailer provided for us. On page number 3, start at air photo and street view of subject property. It's located in middle of the city. It's but it's northwest side, if divided by rivers. The subject property enterprise rent car. On page number 4, more air photos. It's for rectangle shape of land. More photo following on page number 5. It's zoning M multiple use sector. Intend to encourage a range of uses, size, activities, and building type to diverse a vibrant central business district. The build form is also diverse, ranging from high-rise tower and portage and made to more intimate scaled building along Graham Avenue. Urban design review is tend to enhance pedestrian comfort and encourage high quality of building. The subject property was assessed at land value. You can see on page number 7 my comparables on Pioneer and 330 Donald Street has same use zoning. M multiple use sector. Let's look on my comparables more specific on page number 9. Zero Pioneer. It's a parking lot, same zoning like subject property, area of 27,811 square feet, sale in 2019 and $136.64 because it's downtown, it's land very valuable. On page number 10, another comparables on 170 Bannatyne, land area 11,140 square feet, similar to the subject property size, 12,000 square feet, sale for $95.15 in 2019. Comparable on page 11, Zero Donald, land area 118,050 square feet, sale in 2022 for $83.10. On page 12, 330 Donald, it's parking lot today, 18,173 square feet, same zoning, was sale in 2021 for $132.06. Comparables on page 13. 360 Hargrave, around 36,000 square feet, sold in 2022 for $83.34. If you look on page number 8, a summary sheet. So subject property land of 12,000 square feet with multi-use zoning. I presented my 5 comparables. You can see between 11,000 to 86,000 square feet. And they showed mean or average $106 or median $95.15. How do we assess building land? We're going back to page. I missed page or what? On page number 7, we did assess property at $1,081,000. It shows that 12,000 square feet was assessed at $19.08 per square foot. That very well supported by my comparables, very close to the subject property. Based off my evidence analysis, the April 1st, 2003 market value of subject property is $1,081,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, questions at this point?
I do. Michelle, Zero Pioneer, is that a parking lot?
All my comparables parking lot.
Okay, and they were all purchased as parking lots?
All my vacant land only 360 Hargrave, but usually surface parking and future developments happen on this surface parking. It's just placeholders in downtown because we don't have land for developments.
So Zero Pioneer, are you aware of how long it's been a parking lot?
I admitted it's parking lot and was sale, it's still parking lot, but it's we expecting future developments would happen. Same with subject property land.
When? Can you answer when?
In my case, model cannot support, because model it's more artificial estimation, cannot support land value of subject property.
So you don't have an idea of when this site will be redeveloped or whether it will be redeveloped?
Not yet.
Okay. That's my question. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Navarro. Ms. Duncan, do you have questions at this point?
Just no building value at all. It's purely land value.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Seelan, questions?
My questions have been asked and answered, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I don't believe I have any questions at this point, so Mr. Navarro, can we have your presentation?
Absolutely. So if you turn to page 15. This is an enterprise rent-a-car location. It's an office area with some wash bays and some parking for the rental vehicles. The current lease expired in December of 2024. That location is still continuing on. We see that as the highest and best use. We don't think that this location will be developed anytime soon. Vacancy allowance that we've applied is 2%, shortfall $6, management 3%. Sorry, non-recovered expenses, not 3%. Not sure what to say about this. It's a building, it's an operating building. It has for some time. It's going to be in the future. So I don't see how you could value it as a parking lot. So we have a
market income of 44,856, 897, or 2% for vacancy. Effective market of 43,959. Expense allowances of 1,515 and net operating income of 42,444. Capitalization rate of 7%. That gives us an income value of 606,345. And that is the value, 606,000 rounded. We have in the appendix just information that we've downloaded from city records and also the income and expenses supplied by the owner. So I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shable, any questions for the appellant?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seelan, questions?
I see that the building was originally built in 1959. Do you know what happened that changed the effective age in 1985?
Yeah, Mr. Sealing, typically buildings are improved over the years. Updates are made to the physical condition of the property. And that would be exterior, it could be windows, it could be HVAC. All of those things are updated over time. So I assume that the assessor has done that. And it is referred to as an effective age recalculation. And the reason for it is essentially because the buildings don't stay as they were in the 1950s. I mean, when you're walking in here, you're not going back into the 1950s. It looks more modern, although this particular facility that I've been at several times, it is dated even for its age now. I actually don't have an issue with the date that they've put on it. It probably is reflective of a location from 1985. The bigger problem is obviously the methodology that the assessor has gone with. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. So you've been to this building, you've inspected this building then recently?
I have, yes.
And what would you say the condition is based on your inspection if I rated it as?
Well, I would say that the office is in average condition and the bays are, the car bays are fine. It's average. It's definitely not a 1950s building. It's had its updates over time. I believe the enterprise lease probably started in the early 2000s. So it would have received a refresh around that time.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions?
There's just no rent comparables in your presentation, so it's just based on the actuals that you're valuing it?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Duncan. And again, you did not try and address if in fact this is just land value as the city is suggesting that should be. You did not do that analysis.
The highest and best use.
Well, to see if in fact the land value has been surpassed by the income.
No. So what I would say about the assessor's land values is, and we've had our conversations about this in the past, is that those are parking lots. Those sales are being driven by the parking income. That's what they're being purchased as. So if you calculate the parking income that the purchasers project for those parking lots, or the income valuation and divide it by the square feet, that's what you get. But the mistake is, in our opinion, is that those sales are being misrepresented by trying to put a land value on that, because it's simply, the values are very specific to the location and the income that they derive. And this location, there's no chance of this thing becoming anything else in the future. So from our perspective, it would fail that first test of highest and best use, and we would not flip to a land value at that point. And I may say that there are many properties in the downtown that have low values like this. So that where it's reflected more in the current use than a potential future use or speculative use. So no, I didn't consider it the land value.
Okay. And I guess that, I still have some trouble with the fact that land value can't be worth less than land value, and if income does not generate a value greater than the land, there is a default to the land, and I can understand why the assessor has used sales of vacant land, basically, parking lots, and I appreciate your comment that yes, they have been parking lots for a long time, but I can bet that all of them are speculating at some point that they will develop. Now, obviously, some might not ever in our lifetimes.
Yeah,
There's always a possibility.
so that would be hitting one of the points on highest and best use as to why we don't flip it into something else. So the very question of, yes, possibly we're speculating, right? That in itself is where the problem lies. And you know, we've tried to make this point that we're not valuing the property on its speculative value. And that's where we think the assessor is going when they are flipping these lands to, or flipping these values to land value. I would even say that in the case of 715 or the Heber Suzuki, that has a better chance of meeting that test than these locations downtown. Because that property in itself, we know it's up for sale. So at least we know something is going on. So at the very least, we know that somebody is probably going to purchase that in the near future. And we would even then be jumping the gun because we don't know. We don't
Of
know.
course,
But
again, you're speculating.
yeah,
We're both speculating.
I'll give you the point of one particular property in the downtown that I always note, and this is actually right across the street from this location. 351, I believe, it's actually the parking lot right across from the Burton Cummings Theater.
Okay, the odd shaped one in the middle, yeah.
So that was one of the oldest Methodist churches in Canada, the first Methodist church in Western Canada until about 1956. And then in 1956, it was converted into a parking lot. It's been a parking lot since 1956. And we know from our discussions with planners, with the owner, that property is going to be a parking lot probably for the next 50 years, unless cars somehow go away. So this location has been there for a long time. It's being used as a rental facility. We think that that is the highest and best use of the property, and that we just disagree with the assessor's approach.
And I appreciate the difference in the take on it, so thank you very much for your submission. Any final thoughts on that, either party?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go this tomorrow.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will move on to the next property. Just give me a moment. Table, we are now at number 7 on our docket. And that being 80 Keewatin. So can we have your presentation on this property, please?
Thank you. File number 24-3798. Roll number 07090793100. We did assess 2025 with reference day April 1st, 2023 at 1,201,000. The subject property service garage, original built in 2012. located in zoning C2 community and neighborhood 124 Brooklands. Land area of subject property 20,585 square feet. Plan area, gross floor area, leasable area 1,344 square feet. Land ratio to plan area 15.32. On page number 2, you can see that subject property lease for land. If you estimate net subject lease of improvements, it gives us $93.75 square feet, $75 per square foot for 1,344 square feet of subject property. On page number 3, started my air photo and street view of subject property. Location northwest of the city. It's a pump station with store. More photo on page number 4 and zoning on page number 5. Rhombal shape of the land. On page number 6, started out income approach. We assess store, kiosk, and pump for 1,344 square feet at $14.14. I just would like to bring you back to page number 2. They lease for $93.75 per square foot, estimated for improvements. It gives us estimation of potential rent $53,948. My comparables on same page on bottom. I have same comparable 705 Osborne give $43.99. 1484 Inster Boulevard, kiosk and pump for $18 per square foot. 1070 Henderson, $51.22, and 1425 McPhillips, and $43.99, give us average $54.80. We assess it's $14.14. For the subject property, we apply same 2% vacancy across the city. This type of property, expenses not recoverable 3% and short for $6 per square foot for vacant space, give us net operating income 51,122. Model generate 5.65% capitalization rate, gives estimate capitalization value 904,814. We did apply additional building value or detached structure of 296,000. What it's on page number 7. What we apply? All this pumping equipment give us together estimate value of 1,201,000. On page through page 21, my income, my rent comparables, we already look at them on previous cases. On page 22, 23, income expenses Miller provided for us, showed its land lease. Following by 24, it's page 2025 property assessment and appeal document. Based on my evidence analysis, the April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property is 1,201,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, questions?
I would ask the assessor to turn to page 23 of her brief. And I note that the lease is there. However, I also note that there are a lot of items that are ticked off here. Is this not a gross lease?
It's land lease, like I mentioned.
Okay. So are there items that the owner pays?
It's owner received his lease, it's his revenue, rest operated by tenants. All another expenses handled by tenants.
And where does it say that?
Because how pump station is operated. They
Okay.
just most of the time just rent
I think what
land.
we're missing here is that, first of all, there's no property tax recovery. There is no maintenance recovery. There's no types of recoveries at all.
Correct, because it's reported by owner. Owner received net lease of
Are you sure that that's at least, though?
10,500 per month. Rest operated and paid by tenants.
I will note on page 23, the leased area shows 20,000 square feet, which kind of
Is a land
matches up.
lease.
It's a land lease.
Yeah,
So it appears that everything is being paid by the tenant.
okay. So,
It appears.
yeah. So if that is the case in this situation, are they basically paying for everything on it? The building, the canopies, the pumps, the tanks, all of that? Is that not included in this lease?
They pay for land. All this equipment or these improvements operated and caused by tenants. And if you estimate land lease divided by improvements, it gives us $93.75 per square foot. It's clean net what owner get. Rest paid by tenants. No another involvement by owners. That's why no information there. It's clean money. Owner do nothing more with this land, just rent it. So it's clean net revenue.
So
For
Ms.
this,
Seibel, your comparisons are nowhere near this rent.
my comparable to support model.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Duncan, questions of the assessor? You're muted.
No questions, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And Mr. Seelan, questions?
No questions at this time, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, and I don't believe I have any questions either. Mr. Navarro, please.
Okay, we can turn to page 15. I don't think I have to look at the rest of it. As you note, I've used the same comparable chart that I have for some of the other properties. I've chosen a rent of $33, 2% vacancy, $6 shortfall, 3% non-recoverables, with a net operating income of $42,000 and a capitalization rate of 6.75. That gives us a income value of $622,218 and adjustments of $307,000 for canopies, pumps, and tanks. Total value is $929,218, $929 rounded. That's it. I'm ready for questions.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shable, any questions for the appellant, please?
On page number 12, you apply $33. It's supported by your comparable C-store only. You don't consider it any pump equipment or pump revenue.
Pump revenue?
Sir,
You apply $33 per
Correct.
square foot.
That's for the C-store.
Only C-store. You don't consider it a pump station rent.
Ms. Shable, I think he actually did add that on page 15. I believe. 307,000. Slightly different than what you put on,
Okay.
the value of the pumps, etc. So I just.
I just
so
try
the-
to point out which comparables considered for this subject property from 15 presented.
Okay,
Which comparable you rely on?
okay, go ahead, sorry.
So this is a C-store only, so I would be referencing index 7, 8, 9, and 4.
But it's rent for C-store only, but we have pumping gas station. It should be part of market rent as well.
No, it shouldn't. No, I think you've confused this. So the C-store is the rent that we apply to the building itself. The pumps are not what the pumps pump out, that's business value. We do add for the cost elements, which are the canopies, pumps, and tanks. And that is included in my page 15 at 307,000. Now you had a value for those items at 296,000, so we are actually a few $1,000s higher than you.
But would you agree that C-store only without pumping, it will be rent inferior to the subject property? Less people will be going inside this store, correct?
We're not valuing the business, Ms. Scheibel.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Seelan, questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Ms. Duncan, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you very much. Just give me a moment or two, I'm just kind of catching up here with my notes. Okay, so this has a difference of about $10,000 on the income and on the off the NOIs. And a slight difference in cap rate of 1.1 basis points, correct?
Mhm.
And you differ slightly to the canopies, or sorry, the pumps, et cetera, tanks. To the 307,000 versus 296 for the assessment, correct?
Right.
Perfect. Any final thoughts on either party?
No, thank you.
Thank you
I'm good, thank you.
very much. Closes
Can we-
that property
Can we
off.
have 5 minutes break?
Yeah, certainly, if you need a break, we
Thank you.
will take a quick break. Thank you very much and welcome back. Ms. Shable, we have come to item number 8 on our docket. That being 986 Arlington Avenue. Would you like to give us your presentation on that, please?
Thank you. File number 24-2363, rule number 130-620-59100. We did assess 2025 with reference date April 1st, 2023 at 480,000. The subject property is a car service garage, original built in 1953, located in neighborhood 105 West Alexander. Land area of subject property 15,366 square feet, has plan area of 2,840 square feet. Gross floor area 3,829 square feet, and we assess leasable area 2,840 square feet. On page number 2, was sale happened in 2024. We not consider it's arm length. It's between related party. And by the way, it's post reference. You can cross this. Because one of vendor was sold out. On page number 3, in air photo and street view of subject property. You can see it's located northwest of the city. One floor building. We can say on page number 4, triangle shape of land located and air to residential two-family area. This district intend to accommodate the development in single and two-family units in their appropriate limit multifamily units and lower density neighborhood. On page number 6, income expenses, market income of subject property. We assess 2,940 square feet at $12.83. On same page on bottom, I presented sex evidence. I already talked about them previous cases. So they showed that average $15.79 this type of property rent for. Weight average for all property square footage together $18.24 and media $15.91. I don't go deeper, we already look at them. We did assess at $12.83, much lower my evidence. Give us potential rent $36,437. We did apply same 2% vacancy loss, 3% not recoverable expenses, in shortfall for vacant space, $6 per square foot. Give us net operating income on $34,296. Model generates 7.15%. Capitalization rate give us estimate value of $480,000. What I attach in my report also. On page number 10, if you look on cost valuation summary, total depreciation cost and improvement 78,000 and land value 430,000. We assess 480,000. I look on a land value for the subject property on page 11. Subject property has 15,366 square feet. I try to find land similar size. My land comparables for 12,300 to 35,000. Land located very close to the subject property 105 West Alexander. My comparable second. It's similar to the subject property, and you can see the range between $46.24 to $75.91. Give us media of $57 per square foot average overall. We did assess subject property on page number 12, land only, at $28 per square foot, $27.98 specific. So income approach try to support just land value of subject property. Because our assessed $29, my comparable showed $53 at least per square foot. We already saw my rent comparables for rent. On page 23, income expenses mailer provided for us. It's fully occupied. They pay $24 per square foot net lease. 4,000 revenue for 2,840 square feet. It's following up by 2025 property assessment e-appeal document. So based off my evidence analysis, April 1st, 2023 market value of subject property is 480,000. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Questions? Mr.
I
O'Rourke?
don't have any questions.
Fair enough. Ms. Duncan, questions at this time?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Seal, are there any questions?
Yes, the cap rate is model driven then.
Correct. And our income approach just support land value of subject property.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
That's
you
all my
very much.
Sure.
And I will just kind of draw back to your attention here, and again, this is something I prefer not to see in the briefs. Ms. Shable, because it is post-reference information. And you provided sales information from 2024. And I appreciate you're saying you're not relying on it, but we should not see the numbers that are associated with that sale. So I'm going to strongly suggest to you that that be stopped in your briefs, please. That is regular.
Thank you, but I would like to point, because this sale very important, because ownership is changed, and sometimes agent doesn't have authorization for new ownership.
Well, here's the problem. You want to show me that there was a sale in 2024? You can, but then you omit the consideration, you omit the sworn value, and you omit the sale price. You can still show me the vendor and the purchaser change. And at that point, I believe, again, forgive me, but I believe that the property owner at the time, and maybe this is something that we can hear from the agent at this point.
Oh, good point.
Has
Thank you. Can I
subsequently changed.
mention?
Yeah, so I see that Mr. Navarro still has Britlex management at all. And it appears that Britlex is no longer the owner of the property, sir. So you have, right?
Yeah,
I'm mistaken,
I don't think
or-
we, no, if that's the case, then we wouldn't have looked at a current sale.
Yeah, and I'm
Sure.
not happy with the fact that the sale prices are there. I'm okay with seeing that there's been a sale and a date. And that there's been ownership transfer, that I
Right.
appreciate.
So I think what
So-
should have happened is that the assessor should have probably called me and said, I don't think you're in conduct with this appeal anymore.
And that is right, well,
I don't see a point in presenting because it doesn't seem like we are in conduct of the appeal.
I would happen to agree with that actually, so. You know what, I'd like to take a recess right now. And I'm going to confer with Lisa to see if the thoughts are on this, so. If we could do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you very much and welcome back. So Ms. Shable and Mr. Navarro, I believe we've gone through the presentation that you've given us today, Ms. Shable, so thank you very much for that. Mr. Navarro, I believe we have an understanding as to what you're going to do with this.
Correct. So we are going to ask for a confirmation.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so I believe that closes this issue for the moment. Thank you very much, both parties. It's much appreciated. And we now go on to the last item on our docket today at 1745 Keniston Boulevard. Now, Ms. Shable, I believe there's an issue here, is there not?
Correct.
So we should-
Roll under appeal 030625500700 is void. The roll is not active anymore. We issue it new roll number 030930171130. It will supplementary notes will be sent shortly or sent already.
So So there's a supplemental coming. Mr. Navarro, you are now aware of this.
We knew about it ahead of time. Yes.
Fair enough. So I guess we will. I guess confirmation is the best way to call it then, yes? Or that's an interesting question. Brad? Thoughts on this?
We either request confirmation or withdraw the appeal.
I'll ask for confirmation.
Okay, fair enough. So, Ms. Shagel, could you just, for the sake of the record, give me the, appeal number? You've given us the, roll number, so I appreciate that, and just the, value that's on the property at this point.
Okay. File number 24-2482. Previous roll number 030.
You've given us that, I appreciate, there's no, change in roll numbers, thank you, and, the amount of assessed value.
For previous void rolls,
Yes,
you have to open page 31. We sent 2025 property assessment and 2,379,000.
yeah, is that the new number, Ms. Shable, or is that the old number?
Old number.
2,000,000.
379,000 on page
Thank you.
31.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. And Mr. Navarro, we are going to ask for confirmation, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
All right. Right. And so with that, I believe we have I believe we've heard all the items scheduled today, and this hearing is now adjourned. I thank you very much for your time and your patience, both of you in your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a
Have
good
a
day,
good
everyone.
rest of the day. Bye.
You, bye.
All right.